Part 53. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Ken Ryu Xiahua. Chapter 521. In the previous life, Suji was like himself, being kept hanging by Wang Yuchen, and finally ended in tragedy. I thought that in this life, Suji, under his guidance, directly took Wang Yuchen's first blood. After that, the two of them would start a sweet love. Even if they didn't make it to the end, it shouldn't be a big problem to stick to it for 2 or 3 years. Who would have thought that in just a few months, the two of them had already quarreled to this extent? They have already broken up? Is it true that it is difficult to change a person's nature? Wang Yuchen was like this in the previous life. In this life, even though Suji had taken the first blood, he was still like this? But Baiwuxi is not like this? Or are Wang Yuchen and Baiwuxi, their two best friends, completely different species? Li Yuan coughed and felt sad for his good buddy. Daji, I think you should calm down and think carefully about whether your relationship model is worth continuing together. Suji, brother Yuan, my mind is very confused now, like a ball of paste, the whole person is confused, and I don't know what to do at all. Brother Yuan, you are so experienced, tell me what I should do now, I will listen to you. Li Yuan paused, then answered, Daji, do you want to hear the truth or a lie? Suji, of course it's the truth, brother Yuan, tell me, no matter what you say, I will listen. I believe. In this world, everyone will hurt me, you certainly won't, we are good brothers for life. Li Yuan smiled, and was very happy to hear Suji's answer. However, Suji was not wrong, he really wouldn't hurt him. Daji, then I will say something unpleasant, don't mind it? Suji nodded, well, brother Yuan, tell me. Li Yuan directly said what he thought in his heart. Daji, according to my experience, your girlfriend is the kind of girl who is ambitious and vain, and can't see herself clearly. This kind of girl will have very high requirements for her partner. Unless her partner can always satisfy her gradually expanding desires, otherwise, she will always feel dissatisfied. Especially when she feels that her best friend is living a better life than her, this situation will be more prominent. For this kind of girl, you just have to fall in love, don't get yourself involved and make yourself sad and upset, it's not worth it. Daji, am I clear enough? On the other end of the phone, listening to Li Yuan's comments on Wang Yuchen, Suji suddenly became silent. He is not stupid, and he can also feel the expressions that Wang Yuchen often says when he is with him. Especially when talking about Li Yuan and Baiwuxi, the two high school classmates, that feeling is very obvious. It is a look of deep envy and yearning. Baiwuxi is her good friend, so she naturally wants to emulate Baiwuxi in every aspect. Especially after knowing that Li Yuan spent tens of millions to buy Baiwuxi a luxury house in Shanghai, the feeling of envy, unwillingness, and jealousy became even more obvious. However, he didn't care at the time. After all, there is only one man like Li Yuan. Suji was silent for a moment before answering, then, brother Yuan, do you mean for me to let go? Li Yuan nodded, Daji, I think you are a little too sentimental now, which is totally unnecessary. You are not ugly, and your family is okay. With your conditions, you can definitely find someone more suitable for you. As a good brother, I just want to give you a word of advice. As long as you are good enough, all kinds of beauties will rush to you. A real man will never worry about not having a wife. If it doesn't work, brother, I will introduce you to a few. I have the contact information and personal information of many milk tea sisters selected last time. Most of them are college students in Shanghai, and there are also some from your school. Do you want me to introduce them to you? Listening to Li Yuan's persuasion, Suji's mood became better. However, there are still some things that he can't think about and can't figure out. Brother Yuan, I really don't understand. I've treated her better. Why is she still flirting with other boys? I feel like I have a green hat on my head and a knot in my heart. Li Yuan sighed. No man can stand this kind of thing. Unless he has a special fetish. Daji, think about it. Anyway, you got her first blood, so it's not that bad. At most, you just spent tens of thousands of dollars. If the old one doesn't go, the new one won't come. Say goodbye, the next one will be better. I can guarantee that as long as you choose to break up, she will definitely regret it in the future and will look for you eagerly. Suji was silent for a while, and his eyes gradually became firm. He trusted Li Yuan 100%. Brother Yuan, I believe you, I listened to you, and I really broke up with her this time. Li Yuan laughed and joked, okay, do you need me to introduce you to a new girlfriend? I know a lot of resources. Suji shook his head, Yuan I don't believe in love now, and I don't want to fall in love again. I just want to work hard to improve myself, work hard to make money, make a lot of money, and make her regret it. Listening to Suji's words, Li Yuan laughed in his heart. No wonder they were good buddies in 2 lifetimes. This character is really very similar. It's just that he had no one to help him in his previous life. And now Suji has him to help. Daji, that's right. Working hard to improve yourself and making more money is the way to go. I can tell you clearly that as long as you are rich enough, love will come easily and you will even be dazzled by the choices. Suji was shocked and asked embarrassedly. Then, Brother Yuan, can I ask you for a favor? Li Yuan smiled and said, brothers, if you have something to say, just say it. Don't be nagging like a woman. Suji replied hesitantly, that, Brother Yuan, I want to make money. Can you help me again? After he said this, his heart immediately rose to his throat. Before, Li Yuan had taken him and Wang Shui to invest together. Each of them made hundreds of thousands of yuan. Because he was with Wang Yuchen, he withdrew earlier and made tens of thousands less. Now that Li Yuan's business has grown, he doesn't know whether Li Yuan is willing to continue to take him to play. While Suji was waiting anxiously, Li Yuan's hearty smile came from the other end of the phone. Daji, I thought it was something else. It's a small matter. I promise you. Li Yuan smiled and said. I know many ways to make money. It's easy to make money. Daji, don't worry. If you follow me in the future, I guarantee that you will have a good life and change your girlfriend every day. Listening to Li Yuan's joke, Suji was completely relieved. Brother Yuan, I don't want to stay at home. I will go back to the Magic City to find you tomorrow and learn how to do business and make money from you. Li Yuan smiled and said, that's fine, but I can't do it tomorrow. I have to go to the Imperial City and may take 2 or 3 days to come back. Hearing that Li Yuan was going to the Imperial City, Suji asked in surprise, Brother Yuan, why are you going to the Imperial City at this time? Li Yuan did not hide it and said directly, isn't this your sister-in-law Tingyu, who wants to go to the Imperial City to play? I have time now, so I will accompany her to go shopping. By the way, take a look at the market over there and prepare for the expansion of the company. Hearing that Li Yuan was going to accompany Zhong Tingyu, Suji was even more envious. Brother Yuan, you are really amazing. I have to learn from you how to make several sisters-in-law accept each other. Chapter 297 Best Friends Turned Against Each Other, Bai Wuxi was heartbroken. Listening to Suji asking him how to make several girlfriends get along well, Li Yuan suddenly laughed. He thought, it is not easy to do this, if I hadn't told the story and experience of my previous life truthfully. Of course, I also took advantage of the characteristics of the author of The Failed Street and processed it a little bit, turning it into a story that looks bloody but touching. Without this story, relying solely on money may not necessarily make these proud girls choose to accept this reality. It is undeniable that money is also a necessary guarantee. Without money, in the previous life, I couldn't even handle Biwixi alone, let alone Xiazhijin and Zhongtingyu. Just like Wang Duyu and Xiaozu in The Richest Tomato, although Xiaozu kept saying that she didn't love money, every scene that was touched required a lot of money as a guarantee. If you are a poor country boy like in your previous life, you will haggle over every penny when you treat your girlfriend to a hot pot, barbecue, or spicy hot pot. Even if this girl likes you, her mentality will change under the influence of her friends and classmates. It is said that men become bad when they have money. Just like, women become materialistic when they have no money. It is impossible to say who is right or wrong. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 522. Daji, this is a long story. When you return to Shanghai, we can talk about it in detail when we meet. I will only tell you one truth, which is also the truth. Girls are attracted, not chased. If you want to desire true love, you must have the idea of not caring about love and constantly strive to improve your level. It can be money, talent, or skills. When you are good enough, you will find that many excellent girls who you once could not get will automatically gather around you. As for your relationship with Wang Yuchen, if you can see it clearly, you can choose to let it go, work hard to improve yourself first, and wait for her to regret and chase you in the future. Isn't it great? Li Yuan persuaded his good buddy earnestly. He really didn't want Su Ji to repeat his experience in his previous life. I would rather be a scumbag than Mr. Zhang. On the other end of the phone, Su Ji was silent for a moment before a low and calm voice came. Brother Yuan, I know what to do. Thank you. I will go back to Shanghai in 2 days. Li Yuan laughed, we are good brothers. What's there to be polite about? Don't let your feelings affect your mentality. Life is only a few decades long. Just live happily. That's it. I'll hang up first. Your sister-in-law Tingyu is calling me. In a small courtyard in a single-family house in Baiming County, northern Anhui. Su Ji hung up the phone and sat alone in the bedroom, looking out the window, in a daze. Tonight, after seeing the ambiguous chat records with other boys on Wang Yuchen's mobile phone, his mentality completely collapsed at that time. He couldn't believe that he and Wang Yuchen had only been together for 2 or 3 months. They should have been in a stage of being inseparable, but this happened. It was like a bolt from the blue, instantly waking him up from his leisurely and contented state. It turned out that everything he did and everything he paid for was worthless in Wang Yuchen's heart. What's the point of continuing to maintain such a relationship? Snap. Pa. Pa. Su Ji waved his palm and slapped himself hard on the face. Su Ji, you are just a fool, the biggest fool in the world. Brother Yuan has reminded you many times, but you still can't see clearly. A forced melon is not sweet. Why do all this? Su Ji murmured to himself, feeling very sad. He recalled everything that Li Yuan had reminded him of after the college entrance examination. Perhaps, at that time, Li Yuan had seen through his relationship and it would end in tragedy. If it weren't for Li Yuan's reminders, advice, and opportunities, I'm afraid I would still be pursuing Wang Yuchen like before. Perhaps, it would only stay at the level of holding hands, hugging occasionally, and kissing at most. It's impossible to break through the last layer of the relationship and really get her. No matter what, I did it myself, and I have no regrets. I've spent the money, and I've taken the first blood, just like Brother Yuan said, it's not a loss. Su Ji muttered to himself, his eyes gradually became firm. He believed Li Yuan's words 100%. Since Li Yuan has said so, he will do as he says. Let go of this relationship that was forced upon her, and let her pursue her own love. And for myself, I will do as Li Yuan said and work hard to improve my level. As for love, whoever wants to talk can talk. Su Ji got up, went to the living room, and said to his parents. Dad, Mom, I have something to do at school, and I will go back to Shanghai tomorrow. On the other side, Wang Yuchen and Su Ji had a big fight in public at a classmate reunion because they looked at their phones. In anger, after breaking up, they complained to their best friends Bai Wuxi and Su Baibei. Xiao Baibei, I was just chatting with other boys. Why did Su Ji get so angry? Wang Yuchen had tears on her face, and she was still furious. Besides, why did he look through my phone and my chat history without my permission? He doesn't respect me at all. Does that mean that I can't have friends of the opposite sex if I'm in a relationship with him? Then let's not talk about this relationship. Don't persuade me anymore. I'm breaking up with him. I don't believe that unless all the men in the world die, I can't find a better boyfriend than him. Bai Wuxi and Su Baibei looked at each other, feeling helpless and a little incomprehensible. They also asked indirectly what Wang Yuchen talked about with several boys on her phone that made Su Ji so angry in front of the whole class. What is the relationship between those boys and Wang Yuchen? But Wang Yuchen just said that those boys were just chasing her admirers. They just had a little affection for each other and were considered friends, but nothing happened. Bai Wuxi really couldn't understand why Wang Yuchen did this. Su Ji had obviously done a good job and treated her very well. Why did he want to flirt with other boys? Bai Wuxi thought of her own experience again. Even when she first entered college, many classmates and seniors openly pursued her. However, because she had Li Yuan in her heart, she rejected them all and didn't leave any thoughts for them at all. Even he knew that Li Yuan was dating several other girlfriends at the same time. When one of them was still her roommate, she did not say that she would accept the pursuit of other suitors with revenge. Because she knew very well that once she did that and gave other boys a chance, if Li Yuan knew about it, there would no longer be any possibility between herself and Li Yuan. This will become an eternal grudge between two people and become an insurmountable mountain that prevents two people from being together. It was also that day, after Li Yuan told her what happened in his previous life, that she realized why Li Yuan did what he did and treated her like that. There was a reason for everything. This also made her feel even more grateful. Fortunately, she stuck to her bottom line and didn't give up on herself and do stupid things because of what happened. That evening, on the school's Yuanyang slope, Li Yuan sang White Moonlight and Cinnabar Mole to her alone, telling her about the relationship in her previous life. Her heart completely belonged to Li Yuan and could never be changed. Therefore, in the following time, after gradually becoming familiar with the two girls Zhong Tingyu and Xiao's Haijin, they gradually changed from accepting this relationship to acquiescing to this relationship. Maybe, one day, I will finally feel tired and give up on this relationship, but it can't be now. Bai Wuxi's mind was filled with thoughts, and various past events flashed through his mind. She is quite satisfied with her current life. At the very least, she was satisfied with Li Yuan, whether it was physically, mentally, emotionally, or materially. Saw the future? No, now, we have already embraced the future. She would not be so stupid as to pass on the happiness she had already obtained to other girls. If she wants to do it, she won't take the initiative to do it first. Bai Wuxi looked at Wang Yuchen and solemnly reminded. Yuchen, I don't know how to advise you. I have said some things many times. I just hope that you can take this relationship seriously and don't let yourself regret it in the future. Su Ji treats you, it's really good. Wang Yuchen, who was already a little drunk because of drinking, and had just had a big argument with Su Ji in front of the whole class, felt very embarrassed. After hearing Bai Wuxi say this, the emotions of reluctance, envy, and jealousy in his heart couldn't be endured for a while, and completely exploded, and he couldn't help but sarcastically retorted. Bai Wuxi, you really can stand and talk without pain in your back. How can you be better than me? How noble can you be? Did Li Yuan treat you badly before? He has been chasing you for 3 years, and you haven't promised him. Ask yourself, why did you agree to Li Yuan after you entered college? Isn't it because you knew that Li Yuan could make a lot of money, so you agreed to it? Even if Li Yuan is on several boats at the same time, you still don't choose to leave. Do you think I don't know the reason? It's not because Li Yuan is rich and bought you a sports car and a mansion. So, don't pretend to be noble in front of me and point fingers from the moral high ground. We are both the same. Who doesn't want to pursue a more generous life? When Bai Wuxi heard that the best friend she thought was a good friend who talked about everything, suddenly burst out of emotion, pointed the finger at herself, and said such ugly words, she couldn't hold back anymore. It was like a heavy hammer suddenly hit her heart, making her brain completely confused. For a moment, she opened her mouth and couldn't even speak. She just stared at the person facing her with her big eyes. Wang Yuchen, who was looking at her sarcastically. At this moment, her heart collapsed and her faith collapsed. She couldn't believe that she would look like this in Wang Yuchen's heart. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Ken Ru Xiahua. Chapter 523. She would say this about herself. Su Baibei, who was on the side, opened her eyes wide and felt unbelievable when she heard that Wang Yuchen suddenly burst out and attacked Bai Wuxi crazily just because of Bai Wuxi's normal words. The three of them have a very good relationship in high school, and they have known each other relatively early. They are good friends and besties. But this was the first time that she had seen Bai Wuxi, whom she considered a good friend, say this. Seeing Bai Wuxi on the verge of crying, her body swaying, and the big tears shedding instantly, Su Baibei quickly supported Bai Wuxi and opened her mouth, wanting to comfort her, but she didn't know how to speak. Really, what Wang Yuchen said was a bit murderous and heart-wrenching, and it was too unpleasant to listen to. How could Bai Wuxi bear this? Well, Xiaobai, don't be angry first. Su Baibei comforted her carefully, then frowned at Wang Yuchen, who was looking at him aggressively. Yuchen, why do you speak so harshly? Xiaobai is just kindly advising you. Why did you say that? This will break Xiaobai's heart. Please apologize to Xiaobai quickly. The three of us are still good friends. After Wang Yuchen finished quarreling with Bai Wuxi, he felt a little regretful when he saw Bai Wuxi crying there. However, she had just drank, and because of her quarrel with Suji, she was angry and tempered. It was impossible for her to bow her head at this moment. He just frowned, with a hint of deep jealousy and unwillingness in his eyes, and glanced at Bai Wuxi, remaining silent. On that day, I saw Li Yuan wave his hand and spent millions to buy Bai Wuxi a BMW Z4 sports car. He also bought hundreds of thousands of luxury bags, clothes, shoes, necklaces, etc., plus what happened that night a special touch. She also fantasizes about living such a life. When she was with Bai Wuxi in private, she also made hints, but Bai Wuxi didn't respond at all, and even deliberately distanced herself from her. After that, she didn't care at all. However, when she later learned that Li Yuan had other girlfriends besides Bai Wuxi, and that Bai Wuxi had acquiesced in this relationship, she had some thoughts. Before Bai Wuxi's birthday, there were several times when she hinted at Bai Wuxi in private and was still rejected, which made her feel a little unbalanced. Why, you can enjoy all kinds of luxurious life safely, wearing brand name clothes, wearing brand name necklaces, driving a $1 million luxury car, living in a big villa. As for me, even if I want to eat a KFC meal, I have to plan carefully. Although Suji is very kind to himself, he is not motivated at all and has no enterprising spirit at all. Is he even remotely comparable to Li Yuan? She believed that if Bai Wuxi really regarded her as her best friend and was willing to help her, she would definitely be able to live such a life. Bai Wuxi didn't know Wang Yuchen's inner feelings at this moment. He just cried blankly and looked at the dim night sky in disbelief. The friendship that I cherish so much turns out to be so ridiculous. In Wang Yuchen's heart, he turned out to be such a person. A shameless bad woman who only wants Li Yuan's money? Bai Wuxi shed tears and looked deeply at Wang Yuchen again. She couldn't accept that this good friend she had known since junior high school, the best friend she thought she talked to about everything, turned out to have this look. Bai Bei, I'm a little tired, let's go first. After Bai Wuxi finished speaking, he picked up his bag, walked along the road in despair, and got up and left. In place, only Su Bai Bei, who was a little at a loss, and Wang Yuchen, who was silent. Asking for monthly ticket. Asking for monthly ticket. It's the beginning of the month. Dear handsome guys and beauties, look at me working overtime until 10 o'clock every night and working hard on writing. Please vote for the monthly vote to give me some encouragement. Chapter 298 Late Night Call, Little Moon Calls Dad. Magic City, Star River Bay, Single Family Villa number 16. Li Yuan and Zhong Tingyu had just finished a hearty friendly match. In order to realize the long-cherished wish in his heart, he was particularly well prepared tonight. It can be said that he has many soldiers and generals, and all the food and grass are available. As soon as the battle begins, various pre-battle preparations begin. Wait until Little Moon's face turned red and she couldn't resist anymore. Li Yuan naturally sent his troops directly to the city. With overwhelming force, he attacked Huang Long forcefully and domineeringly, ending this unequal battle. In this process, Li Yuan naturally fulfilled his wish and temporarily adopted a 28-month-old daughter. When Zhong Tingyu was half naked, her face was red and her ears were red, she was half kneeling on the ground shyly. When he shouted shyly to Li Yuan behind him, "Daddy, be gentle," Li Yuan immediately felt refreshed and full of experience, and then quickly surrendered. Li Yuan felt refreshed and contentedly entered the sage time. I am preparing to write some words and update the novel. Although he is now wealthy and free, the income from the novel is completely worth mentioning. But there is no such thing as giving up halfway. This book Battle of the Stars will definitely be finished. Otherwise, his book friends and fans would be particularly disappointed. This is his first novel since his rebirth, and it will most likely be his last. It must have a beginning and an end. To be honest, it has been difficult for him to find time to write novels recently. The novel Battle of the Stars was uploaded in early June 2008, and now, on January 29, 2009, nearly 8 months have passed. In addition to being able to maintain an incredible speed of 20,000 words per day at the beginning, later on due to starting a business, falling in love, making music, etc., on average, I can only maintain a speed of 10,000 words per day at most. This is because, after being reborn and blessed, his writing and thinking abilities have greatly improved. Otherwise, he would only be able to write 7 or 8,000 words a day at most, which would be considered a big deal. But even so, in these 8 months, nearly 240 days, he has written about 3 million words, and the story of the high imitation novel Battle of the Stars has also entered the middle and late stages. According to his prediction, it will take more than half a year to write and it will be officially completed. Then Jinpan will wash his hands and withdraw from the online literature world. Certainly. It's not that he quit completely. He has already started planning and negotiating with Yuandian Chinese Network to acquire Yuandian Chinese Network. At this time, the value of Yuandian Chinese Network is not as exaggerated as it will be in the future, and it has not been acquired by Tang Xuan. As long as he is willing to spend money, it is not difficult to acquire. If the other party really wants to disagree, the worst thing he can do is wait until Battle of the Stars is finished and then build a new online literature website. This is a very simple thing. It's not that he has to make money by running an online literature website, but it's mainly to satisfy his obsession. To be prepared, it was an obsession from my previous life. In my previous life, as a part-time street writer, I had imagined many times that I could become the boss of Yuandian Chinese website, and then, hey. After finally being reborn, I am rich and free again. It makes no sense not to fulfill this long-cherished wish. Moreover, in the future, Yuandian Chinese Network has become a listed company with a market value of tens of billions, with an annual net profit of hundreds of millions. It has incubated a large number of classic IP works, and has made great achievements in TV adaptations, animation adaptations, game adaptations, etc. It was a huge success. It can also be combined with the Douyin short video he plans to create, and join forces in animation, video, film, and television. Now, he has abundant resources and various ideas. He can easily set up a film and television entertainment company and support some film and television entertainment stars himself. Not to mention other things, just like the sexy instructor Chi Siu, she really wants to join the music circle. As a university music teacher, she also has that background. With her level of sexy lady, if she sang more distinctive folk songs, she would definitely be very popular. There are still many classic songs in his mind that are more suitable for girls to sing, but there is no way out. It's quite exciting to think that you can personally train a music diva and be a man riding on the back of the music diva, isn't it? Li Yuan was thinking a lot in his mind and was typing words. Suddenly, the mobile phone placed next to the computer desk vibrated, and the familiar ringtone of an incoming call rang. Li Yuan picked it up and saw that it was an unfamiliar phone number. Hey, who is calling this? It's your home number. Li Yuan originally didn't want to answer unknown calls because there were too many harassing calls, from people soliciting investments and offering seats, so there shouldn't be too many. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Ken Ru Xiahua. Chapter 524. But when he saw that the number started with his hometown number, he hesitated for a moment and chose to answer it. As soon as the call was connected, before Li Yuan could say anything, an anxious voice came from the other side. Li Yuan, I am Su Baibei. Li Yuan was a little surprised. A vague figure appeared in his mind. He had some impressions of this name. She had a good relationship with Bai Wuxi. She was average-looking and a lively girl who loved to joke. Oh, hello, classmate Su, what's the matter? Li Yuan asked politely. Su Baibei said anxiously, Li Yuan, just now, Xiaobai and Yuchen had a fight. Xiaobai left crying alone. It was late at night, and I was a little worried about her. Yuchen drank a little too much. I'm staying with Yuchen. You should call Xiaobai quickly and ask about her situation. Li Yuan panicked, what, they had a fight? Xiaobai left alone crying? What's going on? How could they quarrel? Aren't you guys having a class reunion tonight? Su Baibei, well, it's a long story, and it's still because of Yuchen and Suji. For the specific story, you can ask Xiaobai. We separated a little east of the county government gate. She walked along the mainland, towards the east. Went in the right direction. I'm afraid that she won't be able to think about it and won't go home. She will be alone at night. I'm very worried. Li Yuan replied, well, I know, I'll call her right now. After Li Yuan finished speaking, he immediately hung up the phone. He was very anxious in his heart. Bai Wuxi, a little girl like a flower, went home angry alone in the middle of the night. What if she encountered something? Li Yuan was worried and quickly dialed Bai Wuxi's phone number. On the other end of the phone rang for more than 20 seconds before being answered. Li Yuan quickly asked, Bai, where are you now? Why did you answer the phone? On the other end of the phone, Bai Wixi's voice was choked with sobs. Facing Li Yuan, he still pretended to smile. I'm on my way home. There were fireworks on the roadside just now, it was a bit noisy. Li Yuan asked again, did you go back alone? Is the road dark, are you afraid? Bai Wixi felt warm in her heart when she heard Li Yuan's concern, and replied with laughter and tears. I'm a little scared, but there are street lights, there are a lot of people on the road, and the shops are open. I'm almost home, and I've already reached Pier Road. Brother, don't worry. Hearing Bai Wixi's answer, Li Yuan felt a little relieved. Bai Wixi's family lives in the family courtyard of number 4 middle school, on the same road as the county committee and county government, the finance bureau, the letters and calls bureau, the taxation bureau and other departments. It belongs to the core of the city and is a commercial street. Public security can still be guaranteed. Besides, today is the 4th day of the Lunar New Year, it's only 8:30 in the evening, and all the shops on the roadside are open, so there's no need to worry too much. After relaxing, Li Yuan asked caringly. Bai, what happened to you and Wang Yuchen? Why did you suddenly quarrel? Li Yuan was very puzzled. He only knew that Wang Yuchen and Su Ji had a quarrel and broke up. Su Ji just called him to ask for comfort. But what does this have to do with Bai Wixi? In his opinion, Bai Wixi and Wang Yuchen were good friends and best friends who had known each other since junior high school. They were still good best friends until he was reborn. She talks about everything, the kind of person who acts as a bridesmaid when she gets married. I never expected that the two of them would quarrel. Listening to Li Yuan's inquiry, Bai Wixi felt uncomfortable, couldn't help it, and started crying again. You, brother, I want to ask you something, and you have to answer me seriously. Li Yuan was a little surprised and nodded, well, you ask, I will definitely answer truthfully. When Bai Wixi thought of Wang Yuchen's evaluation of herself, she felt a little hesitant and uncomfortable in her heart. It was like a thunderbolt from a clear sky, hitting her deep in the heart. It made her feel uncomfortable and at a loss at the same time. Wang Yuchen was her best friend, but this best friend said the most unpleasant things to herself when she was drunk and angry. Bai Wixi wiped the tears that kept falling with her sleeves regardless of her appearance, and asked nervously. Brother, am I a bad woman who loves vanity? After hearing Bai Wixi's inquiry and thinking that Bai Wixi had just quarreled with Wang Yuchen and was still crying now, Li Yuan already had a vague suspicion in his mind. Wang Yuchen must have said something unpleasant that made Bai Wixi feel uncomfortable and overly sad, so he asked like this. At this time, Li Yuan immediately gave his answer without any hesitation. Xiao Bai, you are Bai Yueguang in my heart. You are the girl I have loved for 2 lifetimes. How can you be a bad woman? He, my taste is not that bad. I have loved a bad woman my whole life, right? Even if you don't believe in yourself, you should believe in me. When have I lied to you? Hearing Li Yuan's answer, Bai Wixi suddenly turned from sadness to joy, chuckled, and hummed. Brother Stinky, you still have a conscience. After Bai Wixi finished speaking, he said something faintly. If you look at me like that, I really don't know what the point of living is. My family and friends don't understand me, they all criticize me. Brother, I'm really sad now and feel confused. Fortunately you are here. Li Yuan smiled. Bai, can you tell me now why you and Wang Yuchen quarreled? Naturally, Bai Wixi would not have any reservations about Li Yuan, the person next to her. She told her about the quarrel between her and Wang Yuchen, as well as the fact that Wang Yuchen and Su Ji made a big fuss in front of the whole class tonight because they looked at their mobile phones and proposed to break up. They all talked roughly with Li Yuan. Bai Wixi cried and told what happened. The grievances in her heart could no longer be suppressed. Woo. Woo. Brother, I feel so sad now. I never thought that Yuchen would say that to me. I always thought we were best friends. Li Yuan was speechless after hearing this. He had not expected the situation at all. He didn't have much favorable impressions of Wang Yuchen. If she hadn't been Suji's girlfriend or Baiwixi's best friend, Li Yuan would have ignored her. Moreover, Li Yuan was very suspicious. It was very possible that in his previous life, it was Wang Yuchen, the real green tea, who led Baiwixi astray. He was too embarrassed to say some things to Baiwixi and Suji. After his identity as a great writer was exposed, Wang Yuchen used to get close to himself in private, and even made sexual suggestions. He even vaguely mentioned that that night, he got into the wrong bed and touched the wrong Xiong Er. However, based on the principle of don't bully your friends' wives, Li Yuan did not respond at all. Although Wang Yuchen's cup size is a bit bigger and her appearance is average to above average, it does not suit his aesthetics. Compared with Baiwixi, Zhong Tingyu, Xiaz Haijin, Zhang Ziyu, and Qi Siyu, she is far behind. Surrounded by top-notch beauties, who can still look at the weeds on the roadside? Do you really think that he is not picky about food now? Li Yuan comforted, Bai, you can tell the power of a horse from a distance, and you can see the heart of a person over time. She is jealous of you and everything about you, that's why she said those words. Don't pay attention to her, just see a person's true face. Baiwixi was admitted to 985 University and scored 642 points in the college entrance examination, so he was certainly not stupid. After Li Yuan said this, she understood that the reason why Wang Yuchen said that about herself was because of jealousy. She thought again in her mind of the various hints Wang Yuchen had made before. He said this openly and secretly, and wanted to recommend himself to Li Yuan, but his impression of Wang Yuchen began to plummet. Even, gradually turned into disgust. However, there was another voice sounding faintly in my heart. Wang Yuchen was her friend for 7 or 8 years. From junior high school to university, she had always been a good friend who talked about everything. She just said that on impulse after drinking. Baiwixi looked a little confused, walking forward while talking to Li Yuan. Brother, actually, Yuchen was very nice before and was very kind to me. I didn't expect that she would become like this and say this to me. Could it be that jealousy can really cause such a big change in people? Li Yuan sighed quietly in his heart. It would be strange if Wang Yuchen's psychology did not change. They were good friends from the same family, but Baiwixi was just prettier and had better grades. As a result, in less than half a year, these best friends seemed to have become people in two different worlds. A man who already lives in $1 million mansion, drives $1 million car, and has all the food and clothing from famous brands, so he doesn't have to worry about money at all. The other one is still an ordinary college student, and his monthly living expenses are only 800,000 yuan. If this is the case, and there is no psychological gap, that would be strange. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Ken Ru Xiahua. Chapter 525. Even for people like Wang Yuchen, his psychology began to become distorted and he began to envy, jealousy and hate, which was not at all what he expected. For green tea and money-worshipping girls, this feeling must be particularly uncomfortable. No, after Wang Yuchen drank a little bit and was stimulated, he could no longer control his temper, so he spoke out what was in his heart, causing his best friend to turn against her. Chapter 299's Haijin's request, the third uncle wants to sell his daughter? Xiaobai, it's okay. You still have me and many good friends. When you return to Demon City, I will take you to see the sea, ride on a yacht, and relax. Li Yuan smiled and comforted. Yeah, okay, brother, Baiwixi replied sweetly. Thinking of the happy time with Li Yuan in the Magic City, at this moment, She suddenly felt like returning home and wanted to go back as soon as possible. Brother, I miss you so much. I'll go back to the Magic City tomorrow to find you, okay? Li Yuan felt something in his heart and quickly declined. He has already decided that he and Zhong Tingyu will go to the imperial capital early tomorrow morning to inspect the market and expand the company's business. It would take at least 2 or 3 days to get there. If Bai Wuxi came to the Magic City, he would have to stay here alone. It's not that I can't take her with me, it's just that it's too late in time. There is a 9 o'clock flight tomorrow morning, unless Bai Wuxi rushes over overnight and can buy a ticket. Li Yuan persuaded, Xiaobai, I miss you too, but it's hard for you to go home. Please spend more time with your uncle and aunt at home. I have something to do with my company these days, so I need to go on a business trip to the imperial capital to inspect the market. Bai Wuxi felt a little unhappy when he heard that Li Yuan refused to let him go. Oh, okay. But, I really miss my brother very much. It would be great if I could hold you and lie in your arms right now. Li Yuan felt a little helpless. At this time, Bai Wuxi was very fragile because of the impact of friendship. He felt insecure and wanted to find someone to talk to. This is also human nature. When he was feeling sad in the past, he also wanted to find a good friend to have a drink and rub his feet. Xiaobai, we will meet in a few days. Then, I will sleep with you in my arms every day. Don't be sad. Everything will pass. We have to move forward. Bai Wuxi snorted lightly, yes, I understand, brother. Brother, tell me, Yuchen and Suji, will they still get together? Will they really break up? Li Yuan shook his head, I don't know. In fact, I think they are not very suitable. It depends on their own decisions. Everyone has his own path, and everyone has his own choice. As friends, we propose our own. My suggestion, just give me your silent blessing. Bai Wuxi sighed, oh, I don't know why it turned out like this. I was going to the party happily. I listened to you and settled the bill. Who would have thought that Suji and Yuchen, there will be a big fuss in front of the whole class. Li Yuan is also very shy. He only knows that Wang Yuchen is a bit worshipper of money and a bit of green tea. But he didn't expect that just after being with Suji, he would be hooking up with other boys in an ambiguous manner. You know, when Suji called him, he said that he invested over 100,000 yuan in Biguandi stocks, and basically spent all of it on Wang Yuchen. This kind of sacrifice is not small. If Suji is not angry, he really is not a man. Any man would be furious if he knew his girlfriend behaved like this. The two of them were chatting. After a while, Bai Wuxi returned home. After Li Yuan confirmed that Bai Wuxi had arrived home safely, the two of them talked on the phone for a long time before hanging up. Li Yuan checked the time. Before I knew it, I had been chatting for nearly an hour, mostly focusing on the topics of Suji and Wang Yuchen, as well as the current situation of other high school classmates. Li Yuan hung up the phone, looked at the calls from Qi Siyu and Xiao's Haijin, and sighed quietly in his heart. Well, now, I'm really at a loss for what to do. Li Yuan first called Xiao's Haijin back. The treasure girl in the mountain city, on average, would make a phone call to him every day, send a few messages, and report to Li Yuan what she had done today. This silly treasure girl has such a simple mind. She doesn't fight or grab, she just stays by Li Yuan's side silently. She is exactly the perfect little woman who is a good wife and mother in Li Yuan's mind. Although, it may lack some fun, unlike Zhong Tingyu, who looks like a variable goddess / not like Bai Wuxi, like her first love Bai Yueguang, a little clingy, a little arrogant, a little willful. However, Xiao's Haijin's character of a good wife and mother really made his soul feel like he had found a harbor and a place to rest on. Li Yuan took the initiative to say hello, Haijin, do you miss me? Xiao's Haijin replied shyly, well, I miss you. Hey, I miss you too, my treasure girl, Li Yuan asked with a smile. Why are you still up so late today? You were already asleep before. Xia's Haijin's voice was timid. Li Yuan, I want to tell you something. Li Yuan smiled. Haijin, what's the matter? Just tell me. Xia's Haijin's voice became even lower. I'm afraid you'll be angry. Li Yuan smiled and said, tell me first whether it's worth my anger. Xia's Haijin whispered, well, my uncle asked me to borrow money. I don't know if I should lend it to him. Li Yuan looked stunned and frowned slightly. Borrow money? How much? 100,000. Xia's Haijin seemed to be frightened, and her voice was a little low and inaudible. If it weren't for Li Yuan's good hearing, he would hardly be able to hear it. Li Yuan was relieved when he heard that he borrowed 100,000. It's okay if the lion doesn't open his mouth. 100,000 yuan is nothing. The pocket money he gave Xia's Haijin was 5 million. Before leaving, he told her that she would manage it. Li Yuan smiled boldly and said, it's only 100,000 yuan. You can make your own decision. You don't need to ask for my opinion. Seeing that Li Yuan didn't seem angry, Xia's Haijin plucked up the courage and asked shyly. Li Yuan, aren't you angry? Li Yuan laughed dumbly. Then what's there to be angry about? After Li Yuan finished speaking, he thought of Xia's Haijin's soft and sweet character, and asked again. By the way, which uncle borrowed it? What was the purpose of borrowing the money? Did he tell you? Xia's Haijin quickly explained, my third uncle borrowed it. He has been working in the mountain city. He wants to buy a house in the mountain city and wants his cousin to transfer to school. I was still short of a down payment of 100,000 yuan, so I came to ask. I said I wanted to ask your opinion. Li Yuan understood in his heart, and just when he was about to answer, for some reason, he suddenly thought of Xia's Haijin's cousin Chu Yanyan. The beautiful cousin who almost committed suicide by jumping off the building was the daughter of Xia's Haijin's third uncle. Because of the fact that I was dating several girlfriends at the same time, this beautiful cousin had a strong opinion of me. Li Yuan replied. Haijin, since the third uncle is on a good path, buying a house for his cousin to go to school, then you can sponsor more. The house prices in the mountain city are not expensive now, so they can buy a bigger house, and they will have a larger family. Although Xia's Haijin holds a huge sum of more than 5 million yuan in his hands, he has no intention of making any arbitrary decisions. After Li Yuan left, the money she spent was all the salary paid to her by the company, which was also very economical. Then, how much should I borrow? Xia's Haijin asked in a low voice. Li Yuan was speechless. I said it was casual, but this silly girl still asks so clearly. Ahem, you just have to take care of it yourself. You can borrow as much as they need. If the money is not enough, just tell me and I will transfer it to you. As Li Yuan spoke, he thought of Xia's Haijin's sincerity and quickly reminded. By the way, Haijin, don't be stupid. If you have to ask your third uncle to give you an IOU, just transfer it to him directly. If he is willing to pay back, then forget it. If he doesn't want to pay back, let's forget it. Our family is not short of the money. After listening to Li Yuan's instructions, Xia's Haijin's cheeks felt hot and she said ha in embarrassment. She actually wanted to ask her third uncle to give her an IOU. After Xia's Haijin hung up the phone, she walked to the living room. Looking at her expectant third uncle and third aunt, and her grandmother sitting silently beside her, Xia's Haijin smiled and conveyed Li Yuan's instructions truthfully. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 526. Uncle, Aunt, Li Yuan agreed. He also said that you can buy a bigger house. After hearing Xia's Haijin's answer, Chen Kaihua and Chu Yu breathed a sigh of relief, and at the same time felt a little more favorable towards Li Yuan. It was so considerate. They just wanted to buy a small house in the mountain city and let their son go to junior high school in the mountain city. But Li Yuan said directly and generously that he wanted them to change to a bigger house. Ajin, did Li Yuan really say that? Chu Yu's eyes flickered and she asked seriously. Xia's Haijin nodded, yes. Chu Yu glanced at Chen Kaihua and felt very moved. She also wanted to change to a bigger house and settle in a big city. Even if Li Yuan hadn't given Xia's Haijin this duplex mansion, it would have been great to have 3 bedrooms and 1 living room. No, you can also think about 4 bedrooms and 1 living room. Chu Yu urged, Master, Li Yuan and Ajin have said so. Please say something. Chen Kaihua was a little embarrassed, touched Chu Yu's arm, and said, you have seen more houses, so it's up to you to speak. Chu Yu has a strong personality and is very independent. Otherwise, Chu Yanyan would not have a surname of Chu instead of Chen. Immediately, he rolled his eyes and asked tentatively. Ajin, your uncle, Yanyan, Qing, and the future Qing have acquired a wife. I want to change to a big house with 4 bedrooms and 1 living room. Do you think it's okay? Xia's Haijin nodded, okay. Auntie, how much do you need? I'll forward it to you. Seeing Xia's Haijin's willingness to agree, Chu Yu calculated in her mind that the total price of several 4-bedroom houses she had viewed in the city center was around 1.1 million. Counting the 2 of them, the 300,000 they have saved over the past few decades, as well as the 100,000 bonus in the daughter's hand, and the 100,000 borrowed from her parents' family, are still about 600,000 short. Ajin, is this number okay? Chu Yu cautiously and tentatively made a 6 gesture. And, 600,000, Xia's Haijin asked. Chu Yu nodded, fearing that Xia's Haijin would misunderstand, so she quickly explained. Well, the current bank loan interest rates are a bit high. I want to feel less stressed in the future. If it's more, less is fine. Xia's Haijin had already received Li Yuan's instructions, so she naturally didn't think it was too much, so she nodded in agreement immediately. Okay, uncle, aunt, let's go to the bank together tomorrow and transfer it to you. Seeing that Xia's Haijin agreed so easily, Chu Yu almost jumped with excitement, her eyes showing deep anticipation and shock. She took a deep look at Xia's Haijin and felt even more admiration in her heart. Look at this person, he is only 18 or 19 years old, and he can borrow 600,000 yuan at any time. Is this just because he has found a good boyfriend? Let's take a look at our precious daughter. She looks pretty good too. She's about as good as Xia's Haijin. Chu Yu sighed in her heart, looked at Xia's Haijin, and expressed her heartfelt thanks. Ajin, auntie, thank you so much, and thank Li Yuan for me. In the evening, the couple returned home and looked at the old and broken house they rented. Chen Kaihua felt very uncomfortable when he thought that his mother-in-law had asked to borrow 600,000 yuan as soon as she asked, but his niece actually agreed directly. Why should we borrow so much? 2 or 300,000 is enough. Just pay 50% down payment. 600,000, with our current income, when will we be able to pay it back? Chu Yu sneered, pointed at Chen Kaihua's nose, looked like a Sichuan and Chongqing Tyrannosaurus, and scolded. Old Chen, are you stupid? Do you know how much more interest you will have to pay to the bank if you pay the full amount? It's hundreds of thousands. The money I borrowed from Li Yuan, do I need some interest from you? I don't know how to settle accounts at all. Besides, if you really can't afford it, then give your daughter to Li Yuan. You don't have to pay back the money, just use it as a betrothal gift. Listening to his wife's nonsense, Chen Kaihua suddenly became angry. Smelly bitch, What are you talking about? Even if I have no future, I will never sell my daughter. Chu Yu sneered, if you want to sell it, Li Yuan will have to ask for it. Besides, you'd better pay more attention to your precious daughter. Maybe she is also thinking of someone. Chen Kaihua frowned, what do you mean? What happened to Yanyan? Chu Yu rolled her eyes at Chen Kaihua and hummed, I dare to guarantee you that our Yanyan must also be secretly in love with Li Yuan. Chen Kaihua frowned even more, how do you know? Chu Yu sneered, how do I know? Don't you know how to use your brain? You must have learned it through observation. It's not like you grown men. You don't care about your daughter. You just play mahjong, drink, and brag. Chen Kaihua smiled, he preferred drinking. Mainly, as a chef, he often eats and drinks, so he is used to it. Mother-in-law, you said Yanyan likes Li Yuan. What is the situation? Chu Yu thought about the news she had learned and what she had discovered from observing her daughter, and explained. I heard Haijin say that Li Yuan once helped Yanyan a lot in school. It seems that Yanyan was entangled by a bully who did all kinds of evil. It was Li Yuan who took action and sent the bully in. And, you know, Yanyan also participated in some competition organized by Li Yuan's company and won a 100,000 yuan bonus from Li Yuan. Besides, Li Yuan is tall and handsome. He can also sing and write. He is a great talent and generous. Even Yanyan's new mobile phone and computer were given by Li Yuan. Do you think Yanyan will like Li Yuan? Chen Kaihua was stunned. Although he didn't want to believe it, after listening to Chu Yu's explanation, he couldn't help but believe it. He had met Li Yuan before, and he was worthy of his reputation. He was charming and talented, and it was normal for his daughter to fall in love with him. As for her daughter, there is nothing to say about her appearance and figure. In their large family, the men are pretty good, and the few daughters they have are all pretty good looking. Especially Xia's Haijin, as well as her own daughter, can be said to have one in a million faces. It's not surprising that my precious daughter would fall in love with Li Yuan. With Li Yuan's love-minded attitude, if he wasn't moved when he saw his daughter, he wouldn't believe it. Otherwise, why should I give you a mobile phone and a computer, and now I just borrow 600,000 at will as soon as I ask? Before Chen Kaihua could speak, Chu Yu said quietly. I think Li Yuan is quite good. Although he is a little too carefree, he is a very good-looking person. He is also very kind to Haijin and is generous with his actions. Haha, if you really can't afford it, then just give Yanyan to him. I believe that Li Yuan will not treat Yanyan badly. Chapter 300, The Northern Capital, Traveling with Beauty in the Capital. Naturally, Li Yuan didn't know that his third aunt, who was far away in the mountain city, was already planning to sell his beautiful cousin Chu Yanyan to him to pay off the debt. If I knew, I don't know how I would react. At this time, he had just finished talking to instructor Chi Siyu. During the Chinese New Year, he once said that after the New Year and before the start of school, he would spend 2 days with her to give her a surprise. No. On the 4th day of the Lunar New Year, this sexy lady, who had just been first-blooded by Li Yuan, was already tired of eating and drinking, and couldn't wait to come to Li Yuan. Li Yuan could probably make a pretty good guess about Chi Siyu's thoughts. Chi Siyu is now 25 years old. It is the time when she is mature and has just enjoyed the ultimate joy of life. Her original desires in this area will be particularly hot. From the beginning of the year to the end of the new year, Chi Siyu had not seen Li Yuan for more than 10 days in a row, enjoying the joy of life, so he was naturally looking forward to it. In response to Chi Siyu's request, Li Yuan could only delay it for a few days by saying that the company had something to do and let her spend the new year at home. There is no other way, no matter who has too many girlfriends around him, he has to accompany them all. Early tomorrow morning, we will take Zhong Tingyu to the imperial capital, have some fun, inspect the market, and prepare to establish a T-Colors and Moonlight Imperial Capital branch in the Imperial Capital. This is part of the company's long-term development plan. Next, we need to investigate the market in cities around the Bohai Sea, Jianyi, Hangchang, Sichuan, and Chongqing, and the Pearl River Delta region, and carry out rapid expansion. When he comes back with Zhong Tingyu, it will be time for Bai Wuxi to return to the Magic City as expected. She was in a period of depression and wanted him to accompany her. And Xia's Haijin, who is far away in the mountain city, according to the plan, will return to the Magic City after the 10th day of the Lunar New Year. All in all, the itinerary was well planned and every day was very fulfilling. As for Chi Siyu, she is not his real girlfriend, but more like a secret lover. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 527. Bai Wuxi, Zhong Tingyu, and Xia's Haijin, the three real girlfriends, didn't know. If they knew, it would probably be another storm. The last churro field was finally settled by relying on the story of the previous life. If new people were to join, they would definitely not be willing, and would also remain skeptical about the authenticity of what Li Yuan said before. If, because of the sexy instructor, any of Zhong Tingyu, Xia's Haijin, and Bai Wuxi left here, he would not be able to accept it, and he didn't want to see that situation. Treasure girl Xia's Haijin, versatile goddess Zhong Tingyu, white moonlight Bai Wuxi. With these three girlfriends in terms of appearance, figure, education, temperament, personality, etc., they are all top girlfriends in all aspects, accompanying him. Li Yuan feels that this life is enough for him. Oh, and there is still no news from the elf angel Xia Yuer, who has been completely cut off. Li Yuan looked towards the north. He didn't know if the girl he was thinking about was in that city. He wanted to see her, but was afraid to meet her. If they really met in a big city, what could he say? What could he do? Could it be that he was really willing to give up everyone else for the sake of the other person? Is this fair to them? Li Yuan sighed in his heart. In his mind, a sentence suddenly emerged. It is better to forget each other than to help each other. The next day, early in the morning, Li Yuan drove with Zhong Tingyu. The two of them walked hand in hand, wearing masks, and came to the Magic City International Airport together and boarded the plane to the Imperial Capital. In the luxurious first-class cabin. Looking at the long-legged stewardess with black stockings serving enthusiastically, Zhong Tingyu tilted her head, leaned close to Li Yuan's ear, and laughed and joked. Hee, senior, I know why the price of first-class cabin is so expensive. It's expensive for a reason. Li Yuan suddenly laughed dumbly, looked at the stewardess in professional clothes, full of temptation, and replied. Xiao Yu, you know what, stewardess is really the dream job of many girls. Zhong Tingyu looked at Li Yuan's eyes and teased. She should also be the dream lover of many men, right? How do they say it on the internet? This is called uniform at temptation. Senior, am I right? Li Yuan glanced at Zhong Tingyu and smiled mischievously. Little Moon, you know a lot. Where did you see these bad information? Zhong Tingyu blinked her bright eyes and pursed her lips. Hee, I won't tell you. Li Yuan smiled. Let me guess, it's either Zhiu, Taiba, or Weibo. Zhong Tingyu opened her pearly teeth and hummed. Huh, you are so smart. I learned it in the topic area of Zhiu. Li Yuan asked in surprise. In the topic area, there are also introductions about these. Zhong Tingyu smiled. He rolled his eyes at Li Yuan. Senior, you built your own website, you don't know what functions it has, right? Hee, Zhiu is really interesting. There are many sisters on it, sharing their lives and experiences, such as dressing, love, decoration, games, etc. Li Yuan shook his head. Of course I know, but I'm too busy recently and don't have much time to surf the internet. I don't know what Zhiu has become now. He didn't pay too much attention to Zhu. This website was originally a casual creation, and he didn't put too much effort into it. The main reason is that Zhu makes little profit. Now Zhu has developed very fast, with more than 60 million registered users and more than 500,000 daily active users, which is considered one of the top 10 major websites in the country. But even so, the profit that Zhu can bring is negligible. A few months ago, when the milk tea shop was not officially open, he began to let Zhu accept some merchants' advertising. Because Li Yuan's asking price was good and his requirements were high, he screened the advertisers, which led to the fact that the profit scale of Zhihu.com has not been able to increase. After deducting various expenses such as personnel expenses, server rental fees, etc., the profit brought by Zhihu.com every month is at most millions. Compared with other websites, the profit may be good, but compared with Li Yuan's current wealth, it is completely insignificant. According to the current profit level, the profit of Zhihu.com for the whole year is not as high as the profit of King of Glory in one day. However, although the profitability is low, the valuation of Zhihu.com is still very high. It has been valued at about 1 billion, has great development prospects, and is also highly valued by market capital. Before the Chinese New Year, some businessmen wanted to ask him if he was willing to sell Zhihu.com. However, he decisively refused. He did not want to make a profit from this website when he established this website, but mainly for subsequent development. For example, in takeout, e-commerce and online shopping, it is equivalent to grabbing a platform in advance and gathering users first. As long as there are some hardcore users, it will be much easier to develop these industries with huge investments with half the effort. Otherwise, where can he get tens of billions of funds to burn in such a money-burning enterprise? Seeing Li Yuan fall into deep thought, Zhong Tingyu suddenly smiled playfully, put her mouth close to Li Yuan, and joked. "Senior, do you want to try the uniform temptation?" Hearing Zhong Tingyu's seductive voice, Li Yuan's heart moved, and a figure instantly appeared in his mind. Zhong Tingyu, wearing a stewardess/nurse uniform, in front of him. Even without Zhong Tingyu's teasing, just thinking of the scene of Zhong Tingyu, this ever-changing goddess, seducing him in uniform, Li Yuan's body has already responded. Feeling the warm and familiar breath beside his ears, Li Yuan turned his face, grabbed Zhong Tingyu's little hand with one hand, and placed it on the inside of his thigh. Then, he took off the coat he was wearing, covered his legs, and let Zhong Tingyu's little hand, put it underneath. Zhong Tingyu was a little surprised at Li Yuan's behavior at first, but when Li Yuan took off his coat and covered his thighs, her pretty face suddenly blushed, and she had already expected what Li Yuan was going to do. At this time, Li Yuan also turned his head and looked at Zhong Tingyu meaningfully. Then, she pouted and signaled with her eyes. Zhong Tingyu's body trembled, and she spat at Li Yuan inaudibly. "Stinky Senior, you are too bad, not serious at all." Although she said this. But Zhong Tingyu's little hand still honestly moved a few more inches to the inside of Li Yuan's thigh. As the plane's engine roared, this behemoth flying to the imperial capital rose from the ground, bringing a sense of overweight. About an hour later, the plane landed smoothly at the Imperial Capital International Airport. It was not the first time for both of them to take a plane, so they didn't feel much. After getting off the plane, feeling the slightly cold air in the north, because it was winter, and it happened that there was heavy snow outside, and inadvertently, her hair turned white. Zhong Tingyu stood in the snow, looking very happy and circling around Li Yuan, feeling particularly comfortable. "Senior, this is snow, it feels so artistic, we came at the right time." Li Yuan stood in the snow, looking at the snow fairy spinning happily in the snow, and couldn't help but asked with a smile. "Little moon, do you like snowy days very much?" Zhong Tingyu nodded repeatedly. "Yes, when I was young, probably in the 4th grade of elementary school. My mother, him and I went to the ice and snow world in the Northeast together, making snowmen, playing snowball fights, skating. We played there for a few days, which should be the happiest days of my life. Since then, I fell in love with snow. However, as I grew up, I never had such an opportunity again. It rarely snowed in Sichuan, and I never had a snowball fight since then. Listening to Zhong Tingyu's story, Li Yuan sighed slightly in his heart. Although Zhong Tingyu looked very cheerful when she was with him, she was sometimes lonely and confused in her heart. Although she was not an orphan like Xia's Haijin, she also belonged to a disguised single-parent family. Especially, after having such a father, one can imagine how depressed and desperate she would be when she grows up. She once thought that her dearest father was the most hateful person. Li Yuan gently touched Zhong Tingyu's head, brushed off the snowflakes that fell on her hair, and covered her red ears with his hands. He opened his arms and hugged this girl who liked snow but had only seen snow once, and spoke softly. Little moon, in the days to come, I will accompany you to get wet in the snow, play snowball fights, build snowmen, walk in the snow together, and grow old together. Feeling Li Yuan's warm embrace and listening to Li Yuan's romantic love words, Zhong Tingyu's beautiful eyes instantly overflowed with crystal tears. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 528. Unable to hold back her feelings of being touched any longer, she hugged Li Yuan's neck, stood on tiptoes, and kissed him directly. As an international metropolis, the capital is naturally very open, and it is not surprising that Li Yuan and Zhong Tingyu kissed passionately in the snow. However, because Li Yuan and Zhong Tingyu have good looks, figures, temperament, and are well dressed, passers-by would curiously discuss them. Tisk tisk, the scene of this couple kissing in the snow is really beautiful. I really want to take out my camera and take a picture of them. This girl is really very beautiful, tall, and has a good figure. Hey, why does this boy look familiar? I seem to have seen him somewhere. Is he a star? I remember that he seems to be the very famous singer born like summer flowers. His real name is Li Yuan. My boyfriend has been nagging me every day recently, listening to his songs. Strange, why did he come to the capital? Is he going to hold a concert in the capital? Wow, it's really Xiahua. I actually saw him in person. That pretty girl should be Xiahua's girlfriend, right? I really want to go up and take a photo with Xiahua. What? Xiahua is coming to the capital. Is he going to hold a concert in the capital? Tell me the time and location. I want to go to see Xiahua's concert. As Li Yuan and Zhong Tingyu kissed passionately in the snow, they soon attracted the attention of passers-by. Among these passers-by, there were naturally fans of Li Yuan's songs and books. They began to quietly gather around and whisper excitedly. Li Yuan was very sharp-eyed and, as they kissed, he also felt something was wrong. Various discussions around him were constantly drilling into his ears from the wind and snow. With a glance, he saw that there were already 7 or 8 young men and women around him, holding their phones and cameras to take pictures of him and Zhong Tingyu. Li Yuan panicked and gently let go of Zhong Tingyu, moved his lips away, and whispered in Zhong Tingyu's ear. Xiao Yu, someone is coming, let's kiss each other when we get back to the hotel. Zhong Tingyu was very devoted just now, her pretty face flushed, and just as she was about to answer, she suddenly thought of something and quickly turned her head to look around. When she saw that there were 7 or 8 people around, taking pictures of her and Li Yuan, she panicked as well and lowered her head shyly. Li Yuan was carrying the luggage in one hand and holding the shy Zhong Tingyu in the other, and was about to leave. Suddenly, a girl in a white down jacket stood out from the crowd and came to Li Yuan excitedly to say hello. Xiahua, male god, hello. Li Yuan looked at the excited female college student in front of him, and nodded with a smile, responding. Hello. The down jacket girl was even more excited when she saw Li Yuan's response, and hurriedly explained. Xiahua, male god, I am your fan, I am following your Battle of the Stars, and I also like your songs very much. Li Yuan smiled slightly, thank you for your support. The down jacket girl looked at Li Yuan's hearty smile, and her heart trembled suddenly, as if a deer had entered her heart. She glanced at Zhong Tingyu, who was holding hands with Li Yuan, and asked with courage and a little shyness. Xiahua, male god, can I take a photo with you? Li Yuan saw that the down jacket girl in front of him was looking forward to it deeply, and he made a decision after a slight hesitation. Of course. Cai Menglan didn't expect Li Yuan to be so easy to talk to and willing to take a photo with her, and she was immediately excited. Wow, Xiahua male god, I'm so excited. Cai Menglan hurried to Li Yuan's side, posed, took out her mobile phone, and took a few selfies in a row. Li Yuan smiled throughout the whole process, allowing this girl in a down jacket to lean against him and pose. Seeing that she had taken a few photos, Li Yuan slightly turned sideways and moved some distance. Sorry, I have something else to do, I have to leave, Li Yuan said politely. After hearing Li Yuan's words, Cai Menglan came back to her senses from the excitement, stared at Li Yuan with deep affection, and asked a few more questions. Xiahua, are you planning to hold a concert in the capital this time? What time and where? I will definitely go to listen to your singing. Li Yuan shook his head and explained casually, no, we are just here to have fun in the capital. After Li Yuan finished speaking, he looked at the girl in front of him who wanted to talk, and the other people watching around him also looked like they were about to come over to say hello. He quickly pulled Zhong Tingyu and left quickly. Chapter 301 Li Yuan Celebrity Treatment, Xiao Yueliang's Poisonous Tongue. As Li Yuan pulled Zhong Tingyu fleeing in a hurry, the passers-by watching around him suddenly showed a look of disappointment and annoyance. Xiahua is gone, I should have gone up to say hello and asked for a photo just now, I regret it so much. This girl in a white down jacket is so brave, she actually went up to say hello and asked for a photo when Xiahua was kissing his girlfriend. If it were me, I wouldn't have the courage. Tisk tisk, Xiahua male god will definitely not come to the capital for no reason, maybe he is planning to hold a concert in the capital. No, I have to ask around, I missed it last time, I can't miss it this time. The one who just kissed Xiahua male god should be his real girlfriend, right? I heard that Xiahua has several girlfriends, I wonder if it's true or not. Amid the discussion of the crowd, Li Yuan took Zhong Tingyu and got into a taxi. The taxi driver, seeing Li Yuan and the other two coming up, quickly greeted them. Handsome guy, beautiful girl, where are you going? Li Yuan casually replied, Master, please take us to the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. Because it was only a little after 9 in the morning, according to the travel guide made by Zhong Tingyu, the two planned to put their luggage in the hotel first, and then go sightseeing. When the taxi driver heard Li Yuan talking about the top hotel like the Ritz-Carlton, he couldn't help but secretly guess the identities of Li Yuan and Zhong Tingyu. Those who can afford to stay in such a top hotel must be rich or noble. Moreover, he looked at Li Yuan's face and felt a little familiar. The taxi driver asked, do you two want to listen to music? Li Yuan nodded, sure. The taxi driver turned on the stereo and started playing music. Wandering, on the road. Are you going to leave? Via via. Fragile, proud. Mysterious and silent. Are you really listening to the story? I have crossed mountains and seas. I have also crossed crowds of people. Everything I once had. It all vanished like smoke in the blink of an eye. As the song Ordinary Road with a unique rhythm and melody was playing in the car, Li Yuan and Zhong Tingyu looked at each other and felt very surprised. Isn't this a bit too coincidental? Zhong Tingyu snuggled in Li Yuan's arms, put her mouth close to Li Yuan's ear, and whispered to joke. Hee hee, big star, this is your song, it's really popular. Li Yuan smiled awkwardly, he didn't expect everything to be so coincidental. Just out of the airport, He and Zhong Tingyu were having a romantic kiss in the snow, and they were recognized by passers-by. Just got in the taxi, the song played by the taxi driver was actually his own song. At this moment, Li Yuan felt a little strange in his heart. He really felt that he was like a big star, and he would be recognized wherever he went. Li Yuan talked to himself, and it seemed like he was asking Zhong Tingyu, "Is my popularity that high?" Zhong Tingyu chuckled, rolled her eyes at Li Yuan, leaned on his shoulder intimately, and joked. "Big star, it seems that you really haven't been online for more than half a month." "I've been too busy recently and haven't watched it much." Li Yuan shook his head. After the Milk Tea Sisters selection and award ceremony ended, he immediately began to prepare for the internal testing and launch of Honor of Kings. When he was done, it was the new year again. First, he sent Xia's Haijin back to the mountain city, where he accompanied the treasure girl and her relatives to play in the mountain city for a day or two. When he returned to his hometown, it was already the 29th day of the lunar year, and he began to visit Baiwaxi's parents again. Then, during the new year, he drank, chatted, and reminisced with the old and young men in the family. Before he had been at home for 2 days, some negative public opinions about King of Glory appeared on the internet, forcing him to return to Shanghai in advance to deal with the negative public opinions. Until now, more than half a month has passed, and he really doesn't have much time to surf the internet and check various hot news. Zhong Tingyu smiled and explained. "You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. If the confession fails, chase her bestie." Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 529. Big star, when you have time, go online and you will know how famous you are now. You are now a real first-tier star. Am I that famous now? Li Yuan was really curious. What is the concept of a first-tier star? In this era, it means big stars like Zhou and Zhou Cai. How can he be so famous? Although he has written more than 10 songs in the past 6 months, they are not widely circulated. Only 2 or 3 of them have appeared in front of the public and occupied the top positions on major music charts. Can this be compared with those top first-tier stars? They have accumulated huge popularity for many years. Seeing Li Yuan's disbelief, Zhong Tingyu couldn't help but tease. "Senior, it seems that you really don't know your fame. Let me tell you this, as long as you shout, 'I am Li Yuan' on the street, many people will definitely know you. And think about how popular King of Glory is now, and you will know how famous you are. Hee, on the internet, someone has called you the most talented talent in the country in the 21st century. Li Yuan rubbed Zhong Tingyu's hair with a little embarrassment, his cheeks were a little hot, and this boast made him feel very guilty. Only he knew that he was not at that level at all, at most he was just a plagiarist. Li Yuan was about to speak, but suddenly, the ordinary road that was playing had finished. To his surprise, the next song was actually the song he sang. "Find the sun in the windless place, and be the warm sun in your cold place. You are always too naive in the midst of human affairs. For the rest of my life, I only want you. For the rest of my life, the wind and snow are you, the plainness is you, and the poverty is also you. I want to take you to see the clear sky, and want to tell you loudly that I am fascinated by you. The tenderness in my heart is you, and the sight is also you." Listening to the song "The Rest of My Life" written for Baiwaxi, Li Yuan couldn't help but lower his voice and asked, "Master, do you like Li Yuan's songs very much?" The taxi driver answered as a matter of course, "Yes, the songs he wrote are really good, with great artistic conception and rhythm. By the way, you young people should like his songs more. Hee, these 2 songs, Ordinary Road and The Rest of My Life, may not be suitable for you young people, I will find you some light songs." The taxi driver, who was over 30 years old, seemed to be a fan of Li Yuan and soon found other songs of Li Yuan. This song Su Yan is very popular and nice to listen to. It's suitable for you young people. And this song Confession Balloon is very well written. As long as you listen to it, you will definitely like it. Li Yuan listened to the taxi driver playing Su Yan in silence, feeling very strange in his heart. Zhong Tingyu, who was standing aside, was already laughing so hard that her eyes curved into crescents when she heard the conversation between Li Yuan and the taxi driver. The taxi driver was silent for a moment, and then he began to show the characteristics of the people of the imperial capital and started to chat with Li Yuan. "Handsome guy, judging from your accent, you are not from the imperial capital, right?" Li Yuan shook his head. "No, we are from Shanghai, and we are here to travel." The taxi driver immediately took over. "There are many fun things in our imperial capital, such as the Forbidden City, the Summer Palace, the Great Wall, Tiananmen Square, and the Chairman's Memorial Hall. I suggest that you go to the Forbidden City first, which is the spiritual symbol of our country. It houses many national treasures, which will surely open your eyes. After visiting the Forbidden City, you can go shopping in Wangfujing at night, which is the most prosperous place. You can try our imperial roast duck and noodles with soybean paste. In the morning, go to Tam Square to watch the flag-raising ceremony, and then go to the Badaling Great Wall. If you don't visit the Great Wall, you are not a hero. As one of the 7 wonders of the world, the Great Wall is a must-see place. There are also the ruins of the old Summer Palace and the Summer Palace. The scenery is very beautiful, and the North Dee River in winter is also very good." Listening to the taxi driver's chatter, Li Yuan looked at Zhong Tingyu strangely. "How come the travel guide the taxi driver said is almost exactly the same as the travel guide made by Zhong Tingyu?" Zhong Tingyu understood Li Yuan's strange look and snorted awkwardly. "Huh, I made the travel guide after looking at the travel guide on the internet." Li Yuan smiled. "This guide is well done, even the uncle approves it." After getting off the car, Li Yuan took Zhong Tingyu's hand and checked into the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. As billionaires, Li Yuan and Zhong Tingyu naturally did not live in ordinary rooms, but in a luxurious presidential suite worth 28,888 per night. The room rate for one night can buy a toilet in international metropolises such as the imperial capital and the Magic City. It is expensive, of course, for a reason. The services brought by the presidential suite are not only luxurious rooms, but also comfortable and considerate services. Just like the private car and the private car driver, they are all additional services. The private car is naturally not ordinary, it is directly a Rolls-Royce as a private car, and the comfort type is full. There is also a special private butler to act as a driver, tour guide, and bodyguard. The two of them don't even need to carry luggage, everything is served by the private butler. Li Yuan can only sigh. It's good to have money. In the following time, Li Yuan began to visit the imperial capital according to the travel plan made in advance. Because of the star effect, Li Yuan was afraid of being recognized and being watched, so he had no choice but to wear sunglasses, masks and the like those celebrities he often sees. Fortunately, the people of the imperial capital are well informed and have long been accustomed to Li Yuan and Zhong Tingyu dressing up like this. "Senior, there are so many cultural relics in the Forbidden City Museum, many of which I have seen in teaching textbooks before." Zhong Tingyu was very excited along the way. In other words, she was always very happy when she was alone with Li Yuan, and the smile on her face never disappeared. Li Yuan also visited the imperial capital for the first time in his life and was very curious about the legendary Forbidden City. "I really want to see it with my own eyes. Looking at this Forbidden City that has left a heavy mark on Chinese history, I feel proud in my heart. Although there are many historical relics in the National Palace Museum, a large part of them have been lost abroad. When I have the opportunity in the future, I will take you to see the Dyeing Museum, and you will understand." As an angry young man, Li Yuan suddenly thought of the very famous Brotherhood of Youth. Among those bandit countries, there are more national treasures. When Zhong Tingyu heard what Li Yuan said, her excited look dimmed, and she clenched her pink fists to encourage Li Yuan. Senior, when we have the opportunity in the future, we will go abroad and buy those cultural relics back. Li Yuan burst out laughing. He was indeed very interested in antiques, but he never thought that he would have the opportunity to buy some antiques from abroad in the future. Now listening to what Zhong Tingyu said, Li Yuan suddenly felt that building a private museum would be a good choice if he ran out of money in the future. You can also collect some antiques and cultural relics from all over the world and keep them in your collection. Gold in troubled times, antiques in prosperous times. As a reborn person, he knows very well that in the next few decades, China will become stronger and stronger and usher in huge opportunities for great rejuvenation. Belongs to the real prosperous age. At this time, the value of antique cultural relics is indeed very high and has great collection value. Even if it is not donated to the country, it can still be passed down as a family heirloom in the future. Li Yuan smiled and rubbed Zhong Tingyu's head, and joked. Little Moon, you are so smart, I didn't even think of this good idea. In the future, we can build a private museum named after you and call it Moon Palace. What do you think? When Zhong Tingyu heard this, she nodded excitedly. Okay, Yugong, this name sounds nice. Hee, from now on, I will be Fairy Chang'e. Li Yuan joked, am I Ho Yi, Wu Gang, or Zhu Beiji? Zhong Tingyu chuckled and replied very cooperatively, Hee, senior, you are none of these, you can be the Jade Emperor. Li Yuan smiled and said, Tisk, then you are no longer the Queen Mother. Zhong Tingyu just wanted to answer. Suddenly, a mocking female voice with an imperial accent came to my ears. Haha, where does this country bumpkin come from? He can really boast. He builds a private museum and a moon palace. Why don't he build a Lingxiao palace? Zhong Tingyu's words stopped abruptly, and she followed the mocking gaze and looked at the other party. She looked like a lady from the imperial capital wearing a peaked cap, a mink coat, and heavy makeup. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Ken Ru Xiahua. Chapter 530. Seeing Zhong Tingyu and Li Yuan looking over, they immediately glared at Zhong Tingyu arrogantly, their eyes full of provocation. Zhong Tingyu felt very funny. Ever since she was little, no one, no matter where she was, had ever called her country. What's more, at this moment, she was traveling with Li Yuan. The clothes he wears are naturally very fashionable, and the coats he wears are also world-famous brands, worth hundreds of thousands. To be called a country bumpkin? She and Li Yuan, no matter how they dress, or their image and temperament, don't they look like country bumpkins? Although Zhong Tingyu was angry in her heart, she was a very smart girl, so naturally she would not sneer directly. I saw her holding Li Yuan gently with her bare hands and speaking seriously. My dear, this hairy ant is talking about us, right? After Zhong Tingyu said something with a smile, he said another murderous and heart-wrenching sentence. Hee, this auntie is a bit stuck on fans. Hearing Zhong Tingyu's tit-for-tat teasing and taunting, this middle-aged woman wearing a mink coat suddenly changed her face and became very ugly. Especially the title of ant forms a sharp contrast with Zhong Tingyu's youthful and beautiful face, which is more than 20 years old. Not to mention, when the word stuck fans came out of Zhong Tingyu's mouth, this imperial lady with heavy makeup couldn't stand it any longer. She quickly opened her LV bag, took out her makeup mirror, and looked in the mirror carefully. At this time, Zhong Tingyu added with a smile. Senior, look, Zhu Beiji is looking in the mirror. Li Yuan burst out laughing after hearing this, and glanced at Zhong Tingyu, feeling very surprised and very interesting. He didn't expect that. The cold-looking moon goddess next to me is quite sharp when she turns venomous. No. The imperial lady in front of her was already blushing and having a thick neck due to little moon's poisonous tongue. If not, this is the imperial capital museum, and there are a lot of tourists. Li Yuan even doubted that the other party would be so angry that he would jump up and take action. Chapter 302 Buying a Courtyard House. Business and little things in Li Yuan's eyes. After being stimulated by Zhong Tingyu's venomous tongue, this imperial lady couldn't stand it anymore. She glared at Li Yuan and Zhong Tingyu fiercely and left in despair. Li Yuan laughed dumbly. He originally thought that the other party would bring out some so-called background and make some big words. For example, my husband is so and so, my dad is so and so on. After all, this is the imperial capital, the political, economic and cultural center, and there are too many high-ranking officials and nobles at the feet of the emperor. Unexpectedly, the other party didn't play according to the routine at all, and made sarcastic remarks. After being counterattacked by Little Moon, he left in despair. Little Moon, yes, you can make the other person blush till his neck becomes thick with anger, Li Yuan joked. Zhong Tingyu pursed her lips and said with a smile, huh, who told her to say that we are bumpkins from the countryside? Look at her own dress. She clearly looks like she is in her 20s or 30s, but she is dressed like she is in her 30s or 30s. He looks like he is 10 years old, so ugly. I really doubt her aesthetics. I said this to remind her to dress up better in the future. Hee, senior, she is really stuck as a fan. Li Yuan smiled and joked, hee, not all women are as naturally beautiful as you, and they are as beautiful without makeup. Zhong Tingyu blinked, senior, are you praising me, or are you hurting me? Li Yuan stretched out his hand and rubbed Zhong Tingyu's head, of course I am praising you. Look at your appearance. When I say you are born beautiful, I am being modest. You should be the one who conquers the country and conquers the city, and the immortals who come to earth. Zhong Tingyu rolled her eyes at Li Yuan and opened her teeth slightly. But I also put on makeup. Li Yuan asked in surprise, are you wearing makeup? You can't tell at all. Zhong Tingyu pursed her lips and snickered, and looked at Li Yuan strangely. This man probably didn't understand the layers of makeup on girls. Some are full makeup, some are just light makeup, simply apply moisturizing lotion and the like. The two of them were chatting casually and strolling around. The scenery of the imperial capital is indeed good. Although it is not as lush and green as in the south, it is full of ancient charm. When you are there, you can feel a kingly atmosphere. From the speech and behavior of the people in the imperial capital, we can also clearly feel that there is a kind of arrogance in the capital, just like the people in the magic capital. In this life, Li Yuan was not very impressed, because although he was only 19 years old, he had already achieved great success. In his previous life, as an ordinary wage earner with no house, car, or money, he deeply felt the discrimination from people in the capital. Senior, are these the legendary courtyard houses? They look pretty good. They feel like the mansions of ancient dignitaries. Zhong Tingyu pointed to a set of ancient houses and asked curiously. Li Yuan had naturally heard a lot about the imperial courtyard. The courtyard houses in the imperial capital and the old bungalows in the magical capital are among the top real estate properties in the country and are among the two most valuable properties. However, he didn't like the old bungalows in Shanghai very much. He couldn't accept the historical memories and architectural styles that were engraved with the history of humiliation. It's better to live in a modern big villa and be more comfortable. However, he felt pretty good about the courtyard in the imperial capital. The most important point is that the Sci-fi in the imperial capital, in addition to being a symbol of status, has great room for appreciation. Although Li Yuan is not sure about the current price of Sci-fi in the imperial capital, it is estimated that it is at least 30,000 to 40,000 yuan per square meter. After another 10 years, it will not be a problem to triple or quadruple it. Later, he seemed to have seen a news that a Saihewan with an area of about 1,000 square meters is worth more than 1 billion yuan. There are many Saihewan in the imperial capital, and many of them can be traded. There are not many large courtyards with several entrances and exits, and they can be counted on one hand. The real luxury courtyard houses are all protected as historical relics. Li Yuan smiled and said, if these courtyard houses are renovated, they should be quite comfortable to live in. Xiao Yueliang, our company will build branches and processing plants in the imperial capital in the future. Do you think we should buy some real estate here? Zhong Tingyu looked at Li Yuan in surprise. Senior, do you mean to buy a courtyard house in the imperial capital? Li Yuan nodded. Well, I think the value of the courtyard house is very high. In addition to its residential value, it also has a lot of room for appreciation. If you buy it now, it's not too expensive. Zhong Tingyu was moved when she heard that Li Yuan suddenly wanted to buy a courtyard house. After visiting the Palace Museum just now, she likes such ancient mansions a little. Senior, I heard that many courtyard houses are historical relics. Can we really buy them? Zhong Tingyu asked doubtfully. Li Yuan shook his head and explained, the origin of Saihewan is very complicated, and some of the property rights are also very complicated. Some are like small alleys, where many people live. It is very inconvenient to buy, and the procedures are very cumbersome. Some Saihewan have clear property rights. After the country's reform and opening up, they have been sold by some people and become personal private products. This type of Saihewan has a larger area and a higher market value. If you buy it, you will buy this type. Specifically how to buy it, you have to contact the local real estate agency. They must be familiar with the process and have their own housing sources. Listening to Li Yuan's explanation, the smart Zhong Tingyu understood it at once and agreed with Li Yuan's point of view. Yes, senior, I also think it is very suitable. I told you before that with the beginning of the recovery of the domestic economy, the country is preparing to invest a lot of money in the real estate market to carry out large-scale infrastructure. The real estate market will definitely increase significantly in the future. Especially in first-tier cities like Shanghai, Beijing, and Shenzhen, most of the country's elite and wealthy population are gathered, which will definitely increase housing prices. If you want to buy, I agree very much. Not only the courtyard houses in Beijing, but also some high-end apartments and high-end residences in Beijing can be invested. Fixed asset investment still has room for appreciation and value preservation. It is much more stable than investing in the stock market. The stock market is too complicated and too scary. Li Yuan laughed dumbly after listening to Zhong Tingyu's words, but he admired her in his heart. As expected of a top female student who can be admitted to a 985 university, this insight is very extraordinary, and she is a very excellent virtuous wife. Okay, just as you said, we will buy a few more houses in the capital and the Magic City, including courtyard houses, private villas, high-end school district houses, etc., all of which we will buy a few sets. Li Yuan said with a smile. Anyway, he is very rich now. King of Glory can bring him huge profits every day, and the fruit company stocks he invested in are also rising rapidly with the continued hot sales of fruit phones. 2 or 3 months ago, the fruit company stocks worth 100 million yuan purchased have soared to nearly 300 million yuan. It has to be said that in this era, fruit phones are really crushing in the domestic market in terms of quality and marketing methods. Domestic mobile phones have not yet risen, and some other foreign brands that cannot keep up with the trend will gradually be eliminated. Now, smartphones have begun to appear widely in China. Just like him, Zhong Tingyu, Xiaz Haijin, Bai Wuxi and others, they all bought the latest Fruit 3 mobile phones, but they are useless. Once you get used to a mobile phone, you won't be willing to change it until a new replacement comes out. Zhong Tingyu was very happy when she heard Li Yuan's answer. This was one of the reasons why she was very happy when she was with Li Yuan. She could feel that Li Yuan valued her very much and that she could help him, rather than just being a dispensable vase.